and I am a senior UX and UI designer in Forest Interactive. So a little bit about me, about my background. So I've been in the industry in a creative industry from past 10 years and working in a wide range of disciplines, including lecturing, graphic design, motion design, illustration, mobile, web and app design, and print media for companies of all sizes, locally and internationally. So I mentioned my timeline, like how many years I worked in each of these sections. So 2 years I worked in a motion designer, and after this I moved to the graphic designer. So I worked as 4 years for that, and after this I was chosen to be lecturer for graphic design. So I worked there for 2 years, and now I'm a UX and UI designer for past 2 years. I'm also a President Award winner for Creativity and Innovation in 2014. Okay, for all my peers, if you are willing to know how I'm gonna know more about UX or UI, so I have created my blogs. So I have 3 blogs right now in the market. It's a YouTube, Instagram, and Medium. So you can follow one of them or all of them to know more about this industry. So after this, I will move to the UX design, like what is actually UX design. We all have a lot of questions in our mind. So let's start with the UX design process. So every single tool or product that we have built in the history was inspired by some type of need. So what sort of needs are this? So let's talk about that. Before I will start the UX design, I want to talk with you what you think that what is the greatest product that you have until now. So you can think in your mind, you can share with me by the end of this talk. But I want to share something with you about what is my greatest product. So what I think that my greatest product is the comb, because it manages my hair, it makes me look like a gentleman. So yeah, this is my product. So let's share about what is the experience and what is the product. So I have few pictures here showing that what are the basic design fields that came out in a market and we cannot experience this properly. So the first one is this picture. It's interesting, enjoy tea. But actually you cannot drink tea because the product is there, but the experience is wrong. Same goes with this picture. The product is there, but the experience is wrong. You cannot actually have your dinner. And then this ATM machine. The product is there, but the experience is not actually what the expectations of customer or the users. So what is experience? So experience exists already actually. UX designer make it better. Everyone is a UX designer in our life. Your mother is a UX designer because she aligned all the cutleries. She tell you okay, this plate is for eating or this plate is for the soup. Okay, UX is all about empathy. Empathy requires data. To have empathy, you need to know about him or her needs. Think about the user a lot. This is a very important thing when you're starting with how to create a perfect user experience. After this, UX is all about the users feel using your product, how they feel about the product. This is about user experience. People only want to do the easiest thing. That's a normal psychology of the users, because the user always go for the easiest process. If the process is easier, they will definitely go for that one. They actually avoid something very hard process. So we have 3 types of different users. One is delighted that they got the results that they're looking for. One are the happy customers. They enjoy the feel of your product. And one are the frustrated users, where actually they get they didn't get what actually they're looking for, and in the end of the time they actually get frustrated. UX is about giving the customer what they really want, and not only what they say they want. So we have to actually guide our users. We have to tell the users this is what is the best experience. UX is all about how your product work, how your product feel, or how your product react in a normal area. If you are using a mobile application. So how the process is flowing. Like if I click on this button, how I'm gonna land to another page. So this is all about user experience, UX. And UI is all about how it look like. What you see on the top of your application, this is all about UI, that is the user interface design. Just imagine if there is no UX, so how each of the department will understand the product. So let's start it with like what marketing request is to build a seesaw on the tree, a swing on the tree, but like how the project team understood. And after this, how the designer actually designed it. And then how the developer actually built it. But in the end, you can see actually what customer really want. So these are all the failures there. And why they didn't solve these failures? Because we don't really provide a better user experience to all of the department. Like this is actually what users want. We didn't tell that, and this is what happened. They didn't really get it like what user wants. So that's why the UX is very important. So let's see how we can fix that problem. We have few processes going on in UX. So the first one, we start with the fundamentals. So in the fundamental, the first process is the useful, like the product meet the needs. Do you think that the product that you are bringing up in a market, it is a perfect need for the users that you are bringing on, like your audience? You have to do a proper research of your audience, like what is their requirement, what are the services that you are providing, and what are the business that are in the market. So you have to look into your competitors also. After this, we move to the usable. Is this product that you are creating, is it easy for use? Is it beneficial for your users? Is it bring up your business? Is it gonna solve their problem? After this, we move to desirability. Is it feel happy, like when the user use it? Did it give a user a very joyful feeling that wow, this is done, this is actually what we want. This is something we really wanted and we didn't find it in the market. So yeah, this product is awesome. So we have to give this desirability to your users. And after this is about your brand experience. Like, yeah, wow, I love this brand. I think I'll buy this thing next time. I will use this application next time. This application is giving me a proper experience. I click here, I buy the product, I check out very fast. So this is a brand experience that you have to provide in your UX. After this, we move to the user experience workflow. How actually we're gonna create all these things that we just discussed. So the first part of the user workflow is discover. In discovery part, actually this is the whole area where actually your user experience will drive. So the discover has two main areas to look into. One is a stakeholder interview and another is a user research. So let's start with the stakeholder interviews. So in stakeholder interview, we have a business requirement. When the client comes to us, we have to know what actually they want. What is their business requirement? In business requirement, we have different criteria like brand vision. What is all about brand? So how your brand work? What is the specialty or unique selling point of your brand? After this is goal and objective. What you want to achieve by the end of this product, like you are creating this product. Why? We have to ask this question, why? Like why you are bringing, since there are already a lot of competitors in the market. So this is why we have to know the unique areas, like okay, this is their goal, they want to sell the products, they have to sell this electronics, or they want to provide a social services, and what are their objectives. After this will be the target audience. Target audience is like the age group of people, like hey, this product is for everyone from age 18 to 50, or this product is only for the high school students, or is for the professionals like from age 30 to 45. So we have to ask our client like what are their target audience. And after this, we have to look into the competitors. I think this is the most important thing. You should know what your competitors are doing. You should know how they are being successful in the market. What is their unique area? You need to know everything about your competitors before you actually starting creating the UX area. You should know like how your competitors are actually selling their product, like what are their areas. And after this, we look at the success metric. We have to look into the stats in a market, like how previously this product is working in a market, why it's failing, what are the areas, why the users are not coming, why the users are not clicking that certain area. You should know all the data. So once everything is like business requirement is done, we move to the user research. In user research, we have few areas, like we call it user persona. If you look at the picture on your right, actually it's a basic area. It's a basic, how to say, area where actually you can mention all the information about the certain user. So how we actually get this user persona? We actually target one person. We target a user. Like if I say that my product is for professionals, so I pick a person that is 33 years old, and I bring him here, and then I ask him a few questions like what is your daily life, how you live, what sort of products you use, what is your favorite colors, what is your hobbies. So we ask a bit structure of a user to know actually which category of this user is. Like, is this user do a lot of online shopping, or he go to shop in the store? So we need to ask all this information, and this everything come in a user persona. And then we ask about the user. It's like if I'm creating a product that is a banking product, so I will ask the user how you spend your money. Do you use a debit card or credit card? If you use a debit card, how much you use? Do you want to pay money through cash, or you always use your card? So these kind of information I collect because I'm building an app that is a banking app. So for banking app, I should ask a question that is relevant to that user's life, engaging with all the transactions that he do in his life, like financial transactions. So it will help me in this. So what are the things actually, there are actually three main things that we ask from the user. That is like motivations, like what is the motivational thing, like what motivates the user to use that product or to do certain things in their life. What are the goals? What are the needs? So we ask this thing, okay, needs, like if I ask the user, like this is the product that I'm building, what do you expect from this banking app to do? Either like, is it make your life easier when you transfer the money to your friend's account, or when you split the bills, when you are going out for dinner? So all these things I have to ask in the needs. So once I finish my discovery part, where I discover my product owner, where I discover my users, we actually move to the next stage. That's called define. So in define state, what we talk about, we have two areas to look into. One is ideation and one is a mapping. So let's talk about ideation. Ideation, you can get it, it's actually idea. So idea, you are refining the idea of that product that you are creating, that experience that you are creating. So you have to ideate it, you have to write, you have to do a brainstorming with your team, and then you have to bring out the information and everything. Like, okay, so this is the product and I have to add on these options, I must have to add another option for the marketplace, I have to add an option for socializing. So all this idea, you have to place it on the table first to filter out actually what is the one you really want in that product. And after this, we move to the mapping. Mapping is the area where we actually create a structure of the application. So once like we refine the idea, like this is the idea we want, we move to this area where actually we start building the structure of a mobile application or web application. So it starts with the user journey. We create a journey. If you look at the picture on your right, it's actually ideating a journey of a user. Like if the user go on start is a home screen. When the user will click on buy now, it will bring me to that product. So this is a structure. It's same as goes with the user flow. User flow is also a flow that we create to tell like how the user will engage with our product. Then after this is the information architecture. So when we get all the information like how the user will perform, how the user flow will work, we actually start drafting out information architecture. All the information that we collected, we based it on architecture. Means like we will create a structure based on like the picture on your right, is all show that IA is information architecture. So once and there's a question comes in your mind like why actually we are creating that information architecture. So actually we are creating this to align all our departments, to align our product owners, to align our UI UX designers and the developers. Like this is the whole structure of our application to work. So once we finish the define state, we actually move to the design state. So design has one area that's called UI or user interface design. In user interface design, the first area that we start working is the sketch. Sketch your screen, how your mobile application look like on the screen. So that's called sketch. And after that rough sketch, either we do sketch or we can directly move to the wireframe. We create the wireframe, we create the structure of the mobile application that I want to place buttons here, I want to place pictures here or content here. We draft out everything on wireframe. Once the wireframe has been approved with our stakeholders or with our product owners, we actually move to the visual area. That's the most interesting area. This is what actually user will see it. Whenever you open the mobile application, this is what actually you see. It's a visual style. How the components that you are designing, the elements that you're designing, how it's gonna be look like. Then we create the prototype. Prototype is actually a working application, but it's not developed yet. It's just in a designing state. So we create the prototypes for different reasons. One of the reasons is that we show to our client like we design the application, and when you click here and there, everything is working, and it will give the client an experience that okay, this is the final product. Before development, this is the final product that we're gonna work on. And it's also help your developer teams to get aligned, like this is what they have to develop. Like if they click on this CTA, where the next screen will be. So this prototype will help these departments that how actually the product came out. After this, we move to the testing area. In testing area, if you remember, we talk to our users in discover area. So discover area is like we are just discovering from the user like what they want. And then we have a testing area in the end. Now we are testing with the user. This is they want. So we have a different type of testings with users. We use that prototype and we do a one-on-one session with the user. Like the user is sitting in front of me, and then I'm asking the user, okay, you can use this prototype and tell me if I ask you to go to the home screen. Then the user will perform the same action that I'm telling it. And when the user say, okay, I click here, I click login, and then I reach to the home screen. So this is the user journey. And I ask the user after this, okay, how's your experience when you did this experience, like when you click on the login, you reach to the home screen, how was your overall experience? And then the user will tell me, okay, I find it very easy, it's very interesting, the designs are the visuals are very nice. So it gives me a feedback. Okay, this is what user want. If the user say no, actually I get confused, I'm supposed to click here but I didn't reach there, so means that there is some failures in the UI design. So I have to go back, reverse back and go back in my UI design, and I need to fix all these fixes, and then I have to do that one-on-one interview again with the user. And once the user say, okay, yes, this is what he want or what they want, then we validate this prototype, okay, this is what we want. And then we recheck with our stakeholders, any changes, no. Then after this, just when the testing is done with users and the stakeholders, we actually move to the last stage of product, that is a development stage, whereby we move all our assets of design and we give this to developer to start building the application that is in the production area. And once the application has been built up, it moves to the app stores, like in Google app, or you can find iOS app or your websites. And after the UX, the last stage is actually the UI design, as I discussed earlier, but I discussed in a very basic form. So let's explore what actually the UI design is all about. So in UI design, we have different areas to look into. So we start with the UI design elements, color theory and typography, UI principles, UI patterns, UI workflow, UI tools, and UI deliverables. So let's check one by one, like what are they. So let's start with the UI elements. What is your UI elements? It's actually a basic building blocks. So for an example, like you're building a house and now you need to do the interior designing or interior decoration. So you start building up like, okay, this is my bedroom, I need this size of bed, I need a table, I need a closet. So you start drafting out in your mind, okay, the closet I want in this color or this design, the bed I want in this size, or the table I want in this size. So you start drafting and then you go to the store and you buy it. So same when it comes to the product designing, when it comes to the UI, we actually designing, we are collecting all the components that you want in our application, that how it's going to look like. Is it going to be more colorful, more joyful, or more simple? So we start drafting out in our mind, okay, this is what we want, and then we start collecting all these elements. So in UI elements, there are few things that we have to focus on, like colors, shape, line or textures, the typography, space, fonts or images. These are all the elements that we're gonna require to build any application or build any UI, sorry. So after the UI element, we can move to the UI principles. So this is the very important part of UI. This is like how successful your user interface will look like. So let's start with the first one, be minimal and remove the clutter. What this means is like try to use limited amount of components. Don't over clutter your screen. Don't put a lot of fonts, a lot of content. What's gonna be happen if you do that? Your user might get confused. They don't really get what they want because there are a lot of things going on. You cannot tell your user like, hey, because if I'm a user, I get confused like where I have to click, why there are so many information there. So we try to make it minimal. We try to put only those options that is required for that particular experience or for that particular function. After this is contrast. You make sure that you can give a proper contrast when it comes to choosing the colors, when it comes to placing your background color or your foreground color and on the top of your component colors. After this is about your visual hierarchy. So make sure the design that you're doing for UI is balanced. If you put the image on the left, make sure there is some content on the right, so it will balance the whole design or whole layout. After this is the repetition. If you repeat like the same thing, it keep the consistency. It will keep the design consistent. Like I'm using one type headline. My headline is a title, so I'm using 50 font there, 50 size, 50 pixel font there. So I have to keep the same title. Wherever I'm using title, I will use the same 50 pixel size. So it will keep the same flow. So you should know like how to repeat the elements or the components that you are using inside the UI. After this is a white space. So if you notice like nowadays, most of the products that are coming out in the market, they have a lot of white space. They use the white space as a background and they put the component on the top. So white space gives the clarity for the user. The user will stay focused on what is the content there. So it makes the user to stay focused on your main content or main product that you want the user to click on or to experience with. After this is maintain the balance. As what I talk about like visual hierarchy, it is quite similar. Like you make sure all the balance, the UI that you design, the elements that you place, they all are balanced. After this is consistent, you have to be consistent. Like the CTA, the button that you are designing, make sure it looks same throughout the product. So the typography that you're using, so make sure the typeface is same. After this is the primary action. Make sure like on your one screen that you design, they at least have one primary action or one button there where the user can interact. Like I'm designing a slideshow where I have gallery with pictures. So I select one picture, and after the picture come out on the screen, I didn't show anything, like I didn't put any button. So what the user will do, user might get lost, like get lost in the UI, like, where should I go after this? So you have to place one CTA there. Then I will place one CTA next. So when the user click next, it will go to the another picture, then next to another picture. So I have to leave at least one primary action there. After the UI principle, we can move to the typography, like how actually user react when they see your content. So actually, when we create the style guide for our typography, so we have to focus on H1s, like headline 1, headline 2, headline 3. These are different sizes of typography there. Then we have a body content. So here, if you see that, what I try to show here is like how you're gonna read the different sizes of font and how I'm gonna diverge the attention of the user. So the first line you can see is in the white box that you will read this first. Definitely is bold, it's very loud. And after this is a second font, like, and this, and then you will read this, then this one. So it's like H2, smaller size, is less importance, and the least importance is on the very top, and you will read this in the end. So you make sure the hierarchy of your design, of your typography is balanced in a way that you are able to tell the user, or you are able to deliver this message to the user, like this is important headline, you have to read this first. How you're gonna do it? With the different typeface that you're using and the size of the font. After this, we will move to the color theory, how the color react in, or how the color psychology work with the users. So here you can see that the appeal of the food, like I place like the heat, you can see the food, like they're using a very contrast color. So it makes you appeal that, hey, I want to have it, I want to eat it. And they create the urge in the user to go and have it. So that's how the color is very important in any aspect. So what is the color tip? How are you going to use the colors in your UI? So the first rule is that you at least use 2 colors. At least use 2 to 3 colors for most. Don't use more than that. If you overload with colors, it won't leave any sort of importance with your user. After this, have enough contrast. Avoid too much saturations. Don't use too many loud colors, too many striking colors. Try to use only 1 or 2 striking colors based on the content that you want to highlight, but don't overload with so many striking colors. After this, get inspired from the real world. Like when you are going out, or when you are browsing online, you are checking the applications or different mobile applications, get inspiration from that. See that how the different companies are working, how the different products are working, how the people are designing all these products. So when you keep looking around you, you can learn a lot, different design styles, what is the market trend now, you can see that also. So this is a rule where we actually use it when we creating the UI. This rule called 60-30 and 10 rule. So it's a very simple rule. We have to categorize the color, like we have primary color, we have a secondary color, and then we have an accent color. So what is a primary color? Like it's a main color of your product, of your brand. And if you look at the picture on the right, I actually illustrated it that how actually you're going to use the different colors, like these 3 tones in different percentage. So the 60% is the main color that is being used for your background or for your main elements. 30% is your secondary color that has been used on the components or on the icons that is on the top of your background. And the 10% is using for your CTS or for your buttons or for some highlighted fonts. So this is how you can balance your UI color when you are crafting or designing any UI. It's another example that how the 60, 30 and 10 rule works. So it's a main color, then we have a text color, then we have a background and shadow color. So you see that we are using the white background, and all the content on the top of that white background is highlighting, and this is what we want the user to read or to click. After this, we will go for the typography. So in a normal web design, so 95% of the overall design is actually the typography. So you really have to focus on your typeface that you're using. Make sure the typeface is readable. Because when we read in the mobile screen, due to the screen size is small, if you are using a fancy fonts, it might not readable because we have different type of mobile screens in the market. Some screens have bad pixels, some screens have a very good pixels. So we have to design something that can work for everyone, for every type of users or every type of cell phones they are using. So make sure your typeface is clear because it's the main content of your product. This is another example of like how you're gonna use the typeface in different way. So if you look at the pictures on your left, it says that I will find you in a very lovable font. So you feel love when you look at that. But if you see the same font on your right hand side, it sounds like, oh, sounds bad. So make sure the typeface that you are choosing, it portrays the right message to your user. So now we're gonna talk about like how we're gonna create the UI. Like earlier we talked about the different steps of UX, like we have to go to certain areas, we make sure every step is complete. So what we're gonna do with UI? So these are the steps. So first is always start with a sketch. You have to sketch your design. You have to create your wireframes. After sketch, it's your wireframes. You have to build your wireframes based on your sketches. And after this, we make it interactive. We start drafting out, we start creating the design, the illustrations that we want, the components that we want. We start building it as what we discussed previously in UI elements. And after this, we built a design system. So what is a design system? Design system is the style guide, or we are creating a set of components or set of buttons that, okay, we want these buttons. If I put in a normal example, so when you are building a house, so you start creating a building list like, okay, I want my door should be look like this, my window should be look like this. So throughout your house, you will use the same windows and door. But you design out earlier, you tell the carpenter, okay, you have to build the door like that, I want this design. So they will give you that particular design of all the fixtures in your house. So you already done it. So same goes when we are building the UI, right? We need to create the set of components that we're gonna use throughout our product that got different drop-down menus or different buttons or different components, different text areas, or the icons that we are using. We can get the different type of icons as well in that. So for all this, we must have to create our design system. So every product that you see in the market, they have a design system going on. So when you look at that product, when you go through that product, you can see that everything is consistent. The icons they're using, they have using the same type of icons. The fonts they're using, the same type of fonts. So this is how we can build the design system. And after this, once we build our UI application or UI design, we do the final prototype. So it's the same thing that we discussed earlier, like we create the prototype, and after prototype, we test it. We test with our real users. So there might be a question in your mind, like how you're gonna design all this thing, or what sort of tool you're gonna use. So for all this, like from build wireframe to finalize the prototype, the application that I'm using is Figma. You can check more on Figma. You can go to figma.com to actually download this application. But there are a few other applications in the market also that you can try out, in which there are the most famous one is InVision, Figma, Adobe XD, and Sketch. You can actually look into one of these applications. These applications also do all sort of UI designs and prototyping, and there are much more in the market nowadays. But the tool that I prefer is Figma. It's very easy to use. So after this UI design, let's talk about, like, now we learn a lot already about, like, okay, this is UX and this is UI. Now maybe a lot of you want to think that, okay, now I want to be one of them. So you might gonna ask me like, hey, I'm gonna graduate soon, or what career I will choose, or if I want to be a UI UX designer, how I'm gonna be one of them. So I actually highlighted a few points that you can work on to achieve that goal. So let's see what are they. So the first thing, the only way to get good in something in your life is doing a million times. That's very true. So I remember when I was in process of being that, I read a lot of articles online. I go on YouTube, I watch a lot of tutorials, I talk to a lot of people to know actually what people want. What is the human psychology? Why user interact differently with different products, and how I'm gonna simplify their life. So I spent a lot of time in searching out with all of this, all of the UX things, all of the UI, how the graphic design work, how the colors work, how the colors impact on a different people, a different user. So I spent a lot of time, and still while I'm working, after my work, I still do a lot of research. I create my content, I tell the people, I learn from people that this is design. So I spend a lot of time still. So if you want to be successful in any field, it's not about UI UX, in any field, you have to spend your time, you have to explore that, you have to do a lot of research on that. So let's talk about the UI UX, like how you're gonna be. So you have, the first thing is to master the tool. You can choose whichever the application is suitable with you. Like I'm using Figma, so when I download the Figma, I start doing the tutorials. I start looking on the YouTube, checking like how this feature work, how to create something. So I start mastering in that particular tool that I'm going to use. After this, copy and practice. It doesn't mean plagiarizing, but it's like you take the inspiration from the real product that is in the market, you see that, and you can practice that. So I will share you one of the things that I do when I was a student. So I always find a very bad looking, a very bad experience of website, and I always redesign this website that how I think that it should be look like. So I always do that. When I was teaching, I got this module with me to teach my students, and I tell the students, okay, you go out, find that website or any product you think that has a very worst experience, and you start building that. And when they start designing that in a new form, that's a process actually where they are learning. Okay, if I talk about the top navigation, how the top navigation will look like. So they start crafting up, they start talking with different students, they start collecting the surveys, they create a different design, and they ask different people, okay, do you like the A design or B design or C design? So it helps them to learn the process, to redesigning that existing website. That's you can also try that kind of practices to learn like from the bad design to good design. After this, read, watch, and get inspired. Read a lot of articles. There are a lot of articles in the market, on the website right now. You can read them. You can see them, how the writers are telling us our new trends in the market. And after this, watch. After this is watch. Like you can watch the tutorials. You can you can go to any companies, like if they offer you a tour, you can go there, you can see how professionals are working there. After this, get inspired. You can go to the Instagram, you can see there are a lot of posting out there, you can check, you can see there like how the things are getting changed, how the world is changing, how the technology is changing. After this, find your mentor. Find a person you think that, oh, his work is, or her work is so nice, I really inspired by her, I really inspired by his work. So make your one mentor and follow that mentor, and ask any problem that you are facing. Ask that mentor, okay, I'm having this problem, how you solve this problem. So they will tell you their process. So in this way you will learn from them. Have a process. um, the earlier I tell you, like, you got a bad website and then you are crafting a new experience. So try to go with the process. Don't directly jump on design. Like the process I tell you, go out, ask the users like how they feel, then create the wireframe and then create the structure of the application and then design it. Don't directly jump on design. So make your process with that. Learn to ask. Make sure you ask many questions. The more you ask, it will give you the confidence. It will clear up your thoughts, like okay, you're thinking something. It will clear up your concepts. So make sure to ask a lot of questions. Share means like share with your friends and share with your lecturers and tell them like this is what I'm working on. Maybe they will give you more input, maybe they will give you more ideas on that. And in the end, the most important is be patient, because you cannot learn skill in one day. You have to be patient, you have to give yourself a time. You have to learn step by step. Why I'm saying you step by step, when you learn step by step, you will learn properly. You will excel that particular area. You can connect with me if you have any sort of questions coming up in your mind that how the UX is, what is UI is. After this presentation, maybe you don't remember it. You can always connect with me. You want to check about the market trends, you want to ask me about any question related to graphic design or related to UI UX design, you can ask me. I have few channels outside. I have my YouTube channel, you can check on that. If you want to see my short tutorials, you can go on my Instagram. Or if you want to read my articles, I have my Medium articles. Or if you want to see my portfolio or my designs, I have my Behance also.